The sky above Earth was quiet, almost peaceful. Stars shone bright and the moon hung like a silent guardian over the blue planet. Yet high above the clouds, in the cold darkness of space, the Zitrians watched closely. They were a race of advanced beings, tall with smooth silver skin and large eyes that reflected every star. Their technology was beyond anything humans could imagine. To them, Earth was just another planet, a small, fragile world filled with life that was not yet worth their attention. But there was one thing that caught their interest. Human children. Children ran, played and laughed in cities, fields, and villages across the world. The Zitrians noticed something unusual. Unlike the adults, the children seemed to possess an unusual spark. They were curious, creative, and full of energy. Even from orbit, the Zitrians could detect patterns in their behavior that they could not understand. Children built little machines out of scraps, organized games with rules that changed every day, and solved problems in ways the adults never expected. For weeks, the Zitrians studied this phenomenon. They discussed it among themselves in voices that sounded like music and whispers at the same time. "They are unpredictable," one said. "Their minds. Different. Not dangerous, but unusual," another replied. "Perhaps they are a kind of life we cannot measure." Finally, after long debate, the Zitrians made a decision. "We must study them more closely," the leader said. "Take them. Bring them to our stations. We cannot risk leaving them uncontrolled on Earth." And so, silently, invisibly, the Zitrians acted. At night, without warning, the children began to vanish. One moment they were in their beds under warm blankets or playing in the garden with friends. The next they were gone. No alarm, no trace, nothing but a faint shimmer in the air where they had stood. Across the globe, in cities, towns, and villages, millions of parents awoke to find their children missing. The world was thrown into chaos. Phones rang endlessly. News stations reported the disappearances in disbelief. Governments scrambled to respond, but no explanation made sense. There were no kidnappers, no disasters, just empty homes and empty streets where children had been. In the United States, Dr. Lena Harris, a scientist who studied human behavior and quantum energy, stared at the data on her computer screen in shock. Strange readings flickered across her monitor. Energy traces that did not match anything known on Earth. They were faint, almost invisible, yet they moved with intelligence. "It's like they are being taken somewhere," she whispered, almost to herself. Dr. Harris quickly gathered her team. They analyzed the traces and realized something incredible. The energy signals were not random. They formed a pattern, a message almost like a signature. Someone or something was moving the children in a controlled, precise way. Meanwhile, on the distant planet of the Zitrians, the children woke up. The world around them was strange and glowing. Towering silver walls surrounded them, filled with lights that pulsed softly. Machines hummed in the background. At first, the children were scared. They called out for their parents, for home, for comfort, but there was no answer. Then slowly, they realized something extraordinary. They were not trapped. They could move freely. Doors opened at their touch. Machines seemed to respond to them. Even without understanding how, the children felt powerful. One boy, no older than 10, walked up to a control panel and pressed a button. Lights flashed, screens activated, and a gentle voice in the Zitrian language filled the room. The boy smiled. "I think I can play," he said. Among the children was Maya, a girl of 12, bright-eyed and determined. She observed everything carefully. She noticed the machines, the way the walls pulsed with energy, the way the air seemed to vibrate with thought. She realized something important. If they stayed afraid, they would remain trapped. But if they learned the rules of this new world, they could do more than survive. They could take control. Back on Earth, Dr. Harris studied the signals desperately. She found a pattern that suggested the children could manipulate energy in ways humans had never understood. It was small at first, barely measurable, but it was there. "They are adapting. Faster than we imagined," she said. Her assistant frowned. "Adapting to what?" he asked. "To survive. To think, to maybe even send signals back," Dr. Harris replied, her eyes wide with both fear and hope. Meanwhile, the Zitrians watched the children with a mixture of curiosity and unease. They had expected obedient subjects, children who would simply follow instructions. But instead, the children were exploring, experimenting, and learning at an astonishing speed. One child discovered how to use a small device to create holograms. Another figured out how to unlock doors. A group of children began whispering and passing secret signals to each other. Maya noticed this and smiled. They were forming a kind of team, a network of minds that worked together. The Zetrians did not understand. They were puzzled by the children's behavior. One of them said, "They are solving problems without guidance, without training. This is impossible," another replied. "We must contain them more strictly. They cannot be allowed to learn too quickly." But containment was becoming more difficult. The children were clever, moving through the alien stations like explorers. Even when the Zetrians tried to close doors or block paths, the children found ways to bypass the obstacles. Back on Earth, Dr. Harris began to notice something else. The energy traces from the children were forming shapes and symbols that resembled human thought patterns. It was as if the children were sending a message, a signal of hope. Maya, studying a console, discovered she could create a holographic image. She focused, thinking of her home, of her parents, and a small image of Earth appeared in the air. The other children watched in awe. "We can tell them we are okay," Maya said. That night, in the homes of millions of parents, strange lights appeared in the sky. For a moment, they saw images of their children smiling, waving, and showing that they were alive. People cried with relief, but also with fear. They did not know where their children were or how they had survived. The Zetrians realized something troubling. The children were not powerless. They could manipulate technology, create signals, and even communicate across the vast distance between planets. Maya looked around at the other children. "We have to stick together," she said. "We don't know what they want, but we can learn. We can survive. And maybe we can find a way home." The Zetrians, observing from above, finally admitted what they could not say aloud. They had made a mistake. They had assumed children were small, weak, and easy to control. But the children of Earth were something entirely different. They were resilient, creative, and brave. As the first day ended on the strange alien world, the children gathered together. They shared their thoughts, their fears, and their plans. They began to organize, not just to survive, but to find a way back to Earth. And in that moment, Maya realized that even in a place far from home, human courage and intelligence could shine brighter than any alien technology. The Zetrians watched in silence, their confidence shaken. They had come to study children, but they were learning something far more dangerous. Humans were not to be underestimated, and somewhere deep in space, a small signal escaped the alien world, moving faster than light, heading toward Earth. It was a message of hope, a sign that the children were alive, and a warning that the humans were already beginning to adapt in ways no one had imagined. The first day had ended. But for humanity's children, it was only the beginning of a journey that would change the Zetrians and the galaxy forever. The children had spent their first night on the alien planet wide-eyed and restless. Strange lights bathed the halls of the Zetrian research station, and soft hums of machinery filled the air. They had nowhere to sleep and nowhere to hide, but somehow the fear that had gripped them the night before began to fade. Slowly, curiosity took over. Maya, the 12-year-old girl who had taken charge, gathered a small group of children. "We have to learn how this place works," she said, her voice steady and confident. "If we don't, we can never go home." The others nodded. Some were scared, but they trusted Maya. She had a way of looking at problems not as threats, but as puzzles to solve. And puzzles, the children realized, were much easier to handle than fear. The first step was understanding the machines. They were everywhere. Walls lined with glowing panels, doors that opened and closed automatically, and strange devices that hummed as if alive. When a boy named Eli touched a console, the lights flashed in colors he had never seen. Nothing exploded. Nothing hurt him. The children laughed in relief. "Try pressing more buttons," said another child, Sophia, her eyes sparkling with excitement. Slowly, cautiously, the children began experimenting. They noticed that the machines seemed to respond to their actions in ways that the Zetrians did not expect. Doors would open if they pressed the right combination of panels. Screens would display images of the station when they focused on them, and some devices, strange boxes covered in symbols, could create holograms of places they imagined. Maya realized something important. "This place is like a game," she said. "If we understand the rules, we can control it. We just need to watch, think, and work together. And so they did. The children explored the alien station, moving quietly through the long corridors. They discovered rooms filled with objects that the Zitrians used to study them, recording their every move. At first, the children were scared of being watched, but then they realized they could use it to their advantage. They began creating tricks and illusions, moving objects, and leaving false trails for the aliens to follow. Meanwhile, back on Earth, Dr. Lena Harris and her team were working tirelessly to track the children. The quantum signals they had detected the day before were stronger now. Patterns were forming almost like a map. They are learning, Dr. Harris said, her brow furrowed. They are learning faster than we thought. And they are not just surviving, they are communicating. She studied the signals carefully. Hidden in the energy traces were tiny variations, almost like messages. She realized the children were sending information back to Earth, trying to show they were alive. Her heart swelled with hope. We can reach them, she said. We can bring them home. Back on the alien planet, the Zitrians were beginning to worry. Their confident expressions had faded into confusion. The children are adapting, said one of them, faster than expected. They are learning our technology without instruction. How is this possible? The leader of the station, a tall Zitrian named Vorin, frowned. We underestimated them, he admitted. They are clever, they are different from any species we have ever studied. We cannot keep them contained the way we planned. The children, however, were not thinking about the aliens. They were focused on surviving, exploring, and understanding. They discovered a room that looked like a laboratory. Machines lined the walls with buttons, screens, and symbols everywhere. They experimented carefully, pressing buttons and moving levers. To their amazement, the machines responded to their thoughts. When they imagined a light turning on, it turned on. When they imagined a door opening, it opened. Even the most complex machines seemed to obey their will, as long as they stayed calm and focused. Eli, the boy who had first touched the console, grinned. We're not trapped, he said. We can control this place if we learn fast enough. Maya nodded. Exactly. And if we can control it, maybe we can find a way home. We just have to stay smart and stick together. The children began forming a small team. Each child had a role. Some watched the corridors, some experimented with the machines, and others tried to understand the Zitrian language. They learned quickly that the aliens relied on visual symbols, sounds, and energy patterns to communicate. By observing carefully, the children could understand at least some of what the aliens were saying. One evening, Maya gathered the children in a quiet corner of the station. We have to think bigger, she said. We are not just trying to survive. We are trying to send a message to Earth. We need to show them we are okay. The children agreed. They worked together to build a holographic projection that could send signals across space. It was difficult. Some of the machines were far too complex, but the children combined their creativity and intelligence. Slowly, a small image of Earth appeared, shimmering in midair. It's beautiful, whispered Sophia. It really looks like home. Maya smiled. Yes, and when Earth sees this, they will know we are alive. They will know we are not just victims. We are humans. We never give up. Meanwhile, the Zitrians noticed the changes. Machines were moving on their own. Lights flickered without explanation. Doors opened before the aliens could react. It was as if the children had a special connection with the technology, one that the aliens could not control or predict. Vorin called a meeting of the Zitrian Council. We must act quickly, he said. The children are learning too fast. They are dangerous in ways we cannot understand. We must contain them immediately. But the other Zitrians were unsure. Contain them? One asked. We underestimated them. But they are still children. Can we harm them? What if they adapt further? The council argued late into the Zitrian night. They were worried, confused, and even afraid. For the first time, the aliens realized that their superior technology was not enough. There was something about human children, something they could not measure, control, or predict. On Earth, Dr. Harris watched the signals from the projection. The images were faint, shimmering like ghosts, but she could see her planet. She could see the children, and she could feel their courage, their determination. They are stronger than we thought, she said. We have to find a way to reach them before the Zitrians realize how dangerous they truly are. Back on the alien station, the children continued to explore. They discovered hidden corridors, strange energy rooms, and machines that seemed almost alive. They learned how to communicate silently using symbols and gestures so the Zitrians would not understand. Maya realized something important. The more we learn, the more we can control. And the more we control, the safer we are. If we can stay clever and careful, we can survive here. And maybe, we can even win. By the end of the second day, the children had changed. They were no longer frightened little humans. They had become explorers, thinkers, and planners. They were learning faster than the Zitrians expected. They were adapting not just to survive, but to thrive. And the Zitrians watched with growing concern. The leader, Voran, could not hide his worry. "This is beyond our calculations," he said. "They are not just children. They are something else, something dangerous if left unchecked." Maya looked out at the glowing horizon of the alien station. She thought of Earth, of her parents, and of all the children who had vanished. "We will find a way home," she whispered. "We have to. We are humans. And humans never give up." For the first time, the Zitrians began to understand something they had never considered. Human intelligence, courage, and creativity could not be contained by walls, machines, or fear. And somewhere in the glowing corridors, a small light flickered, a signal from the children to Earth showing that they were alive, learning, and already beginning to shape their own destiny. The day had begun with fear, but by the end of it, hope and courage shone brighter than any alien technology. The children were adapting, and the Zitrians were realizing too late that they had underestimated the true power of humanity. The alien station had grown quiet in a strange way. The Zitrians still moved through the corridors, their silver eyes glowing in the dim lights. They checked the machines and doors constantly, trying to find the children, but it was becoming harder every hour. The children were everywhere and nowhere at the same time, slipping through passages using their intelligence to stay one step ahead. Maya gathered the group in a hidden room. It was small, almost like a closet, but it had a strange device in the corner, a console with buttons, lights, and symbols. "We need a plan," Maya said. Her voice was calm but full of determination. "We are not just surviving anymore. We need to resist. We need to show them we cannot be controlled." The other children nodded. Some were scared, but they trusted her. "What do we do?" asked Eli. He had grown braver since the first day. "We learn everything we can about this station," Maya said. "Every door, every machine, every symbol. And we use it against them. In a smart way. We don't hurt anyone, but we show them they cannot stop us." The children began to organize. They split into small teams. Some explored the hallways to map out the station. Some studied the machines, trying different buttons and levers to see how they reacted. And some, the quiet ones like Sophia, watched the Zitrians themselves, learning their habits, their routines, and even their moods. It was slow work at first. They had to be careful. The Zitrians were fast and powerful, and if the children were careless, they could be captured again. But the children had something the aliens did not fully understand: human creativity. One day, a small group of children discovered a room filled with strange glowing panels. When they touched them, the panels lit up in response, forming patterns and symbols. "It's like a puzzle," whispered Maya. "If we can solve it, we can control something. Maybe a lot of something." The children worked together. They experimented, pressed buttons, pulled levers, and even talked to each other in whispers to coordinate their actions. Slowly, the machines began to respond to them in ways that were unexpected, even for the Zitrians. Meanwhile, the Zitrians began to notice strange anomalies. Lights flickered in areas where no one should have been. Machines turned on and off without command. Doors opened and closed mysteriously. "They are learning too fast," said Voran, the station leader, his voice tense. "We cannot predict their actions. They are dangerous, dangerous." The word echoed through the minds of the Zitrians. They had always thought humans were simple, easy to understand. But these children, with their small hands and bright minds, were proving them wrong. Every day, the Zitrians grew more uneasy. Maya and her team discovered a communication device in the lab. It was a strange cube with lights and buttons. No one knew exactly how it worked, but the children experimented. They pressed buttons, touched the lights, and imagined messages they wanted to send. Slowly, a small signal began to form, tiny at first, but noticeable. "It's working," whispered Sophia. "We can send a message to Earth." Maya smiled. "Yes, we can let them know we are alive. And maybe we can ask for help." or at least hope they see it. The Zytrians did not notice immediately, but soon they began to see the effects. The machines were moving on their own. Lights blinked in patterns they had not programmed. Something was happening, and it was beyond their control. Vorin called an emergency meeting. "Contain them immediately," he ordered. "We cannot let them learn more. We cannot allow them to send signals. They must obey." But containment was no longer simple. The children had already mapped secret passages and discovered ways to avoid the aliens entirely. They moved silently, using shadows, hiding behind corners, and even creating small holograms to trick the Zytrians. Eli and another boy, Jaden, created a small device that projected a false image of the children in one hallway, while the real children slipped out through another. The Zytrians were confused. Their machines detected movement, but they could not find the children. Maya saw this and smiled. "We can do this," she said. "We are not trapped. We are not powerless. We can resist without hurting anyone." The children began using the alien technology in clever ways. They learned how to unlock doors remotely, how to disable security systems temporarily, and how to move signals and energy through the station. Each day they grew stronger, smarter, and more confident. Back on Earth, Dr. Lena Harris was monitoring the signals. She could see small flickers of energy, almost like lights moving across space. "They are trying to communicate," she said.
"They are organizing."
"And they are learning faster than we imagined." She worked with her team to decode the faint messages. Slowly, she began to see patterns, images of children, hallways, and strange machines. Her heart raced. "They are alive," she said. "And they are fighting back, in their own way." The Zytrians began to panic. "Contain them immediately," Vorin shouted. "They are too clever, they are unpredictable." But every attempt to stop the children failed. Each time the Zytrians thought they had captured or blocked them, the children had already found a new way forward. Maya realized something important. The children did not need to fight the Zytrians physically. They could outsmart them. They could use their intelligence, creativity, and courage to show the aliens that they were not to be controlled. One day, Maya gathered the children in a larger room, filled with glowing machines and floating symbols. "We have learned so much," she said. "We know the station better than they do. We can control parts of it, and now we can send a message to Earth that cannot be ignored." They worked together, combining their knowledge of the station, the machines, and each other. Slowly, they built a holographic projection of Earth, bright and clear, showing their faces smiling and waving. It was a simple message: we are alive. We are safe. We are learning. The Zytrians saw it. Their machines detected the projection, and their eyes widened in shock. "Impossible," Vorin shouted. "Children, controlling our technology, sending messages to Earth." The leader realized the truth. The children were no longer victims. They were a resistance. They were organized, intelligent, and fearless, and the Zytrians had no idea how to stop them. Maya looked at the projection and then back at the children. "This is just the beginning," she said. "We will survive. We will learn. And one day, we will go home." The children cheered quietly, careful not to alert the Zytrians. For the first time, they felt truly in control. They were no longer just scared kids trapped on an alien planet. They were a team, a force that could adapt, resist, and outsmart anyone who tried to control them. And the Zytrians, for the first time in their long history, felt fear, not of weapons, not of strength, but of human intelligence, courage, and spirit. The children had shown them that even the smallest humans, when united and clever, could challenge the most advanced beings in the galaxy. The first resistance had begun, and neither the Zytrians nor anyone else would ever underestimate the children of Earth again. The alien station had grown tense. The Zytrians moved through the corridors faster, their silver eyes glowing with unease. Every machine seemed to tremble with the presence of the children. Maya and her group had become masters of the station, knowing its every passage, its hidden rooms, and its strange machines. Yet even with their cleverness, they longed for one thing: home. Meanwhile, on Earth, Dr. Lena Harris and her team worked tirelessly. They had received faint signals from the children, the holographic projections and energy patterns. For the first time, humanity had proof that their children were alive, learning and resisting. Dr. Harris called a secret meeting. "We have to act," she said. "The children are not just surviving, they are outsmarting the aliens. If we wait, The Zitrians may tighten their control and our chance to save them could be lost forever. Her team nodded, understanding the risk. But how? Asked one of the scientists. We don't even know where the planet is exactly. Dr. Harris smiled, holding up a device that pulsed softly with energy. We can trace the quantum signals. They are faint, but they lead us straight to the children. This is our chance. We will go to them. Not with overwhelming force, but with human intelligence and creativity. That is our advantage. The preparations were careful. The team designed small, fast ships capable of traveling long distances. They studied the alien technology the children had begun to manipulate. Every detail mattered. Humanity had no time for mistakes. On the alien planet, the children continued their exploration. Maya and her friends had learned to control parts of the station, moving machines and lights, creating illusions and avoiding the Zitrians. Yet they also felt the weight of their situation. They could not stay forever. Earth was calling them, even if only through faint signals and hope. Maya gathered the children in a hidden room. We are ready, she said. We know this station. We know their machines. And now help is coming. We just have to stay smart and work together. The children's plan began with diversion. They created holograms of themselves in the hallways, making it appear as though they were in places they were not. The Zitrians rushed to these false locations, only to find empty corridors. The children used these moments to explore further, unlocking doors and gathering information about escape routes and transport systems. Then, a faint pulse appeared in the energy network. The children recognized it immediately. It was the signal from Earth. They had waited for this moment for days. Maya and Eli ran to the largest console in the central room. Using what they had learned, they amplified the signal, creating a visible projection of the incoming human ships. The Zitrians froze. Their eyes widened. They are coming, Vorin whispered. Humans, they dare to interfere? The children grinned. They had learned that human unpredictability was their greatest weapon. While the Zitrians relied on strict rules and logic, the children moved freely, combining creativity with courage. When the first ships arrived, the Zitrians reacted immediately, sending guards and activating defense systems. But the human ships were small, fast, and unpredictable. They used clever maneuvers inspired by what Dr. Harris had learned from the children's signals. Inside the station, the children coordinated with Earth. Using the machines they controlled, they opened doors, disabled security systems, and guided the ships toward the hidden chambers. It was a delicate operation. One wrong move and the Zitrians could have locked them away forever. Maya led the way, signaling to the other children. Follow me, stay calm. Stay clever. The children moved silently through the halls, avoiding patrols. They passed rooms filled with glowing panels and humming machines. Every step was calculated, every action purposeful. They were no longer just surviving. They were leading a rescue mission. Finally, they reached the transport chamber where small alien pods were kept. The children had learned how to operate them. Eli pressed a series of buttons while Maya focused on the control panels. Slowly, the pods activated, lights glowing bright as the doors opened. From outside, the human ships landed carefully near the chamber. Dr. Harris and her team stepped out, their faces filled with relief and determination. They had come not to fight but to rescue. The children climbed into the pods one by one. They moved quickly, guided by Maya and Eli, while the Zitrians tried desperately to stop them. But the children had learned too much and the humans had arrived just in time. As the last child entered the final pod, Maya looked back at the station. The Zitrians watched, stunned. You cannot escape us, Vorin shouted. Maya smiled calmly. We already have, she said. The pods lifted off, guided by the human ships. The Zitrians attempted to intercept, but the combination of human creativity, courage, and technology proved too much. The pods moved in ways the aliens could not predict, slipping past defenses and into the safe path of the ships. From the observation deck of the human ship, Dr. Harris watched the children. They were tired, but their eyes shone with excitement and relief. They are incredible, she whispered. They never gave up, and neither did we. The escape was not without tension. Alarms blared in the alien station. Machines activated automatically, and the Zitrians tried one last time to block the human ships. But each attempt was clever, each movement unpredictable. The children and humans worked in perfect harmony, outsmarting every obstacle. Finally, the ships entered orbit above the alien planet. The Zitrians watched helplessly as their advanced station could not stop the humans and their children. Vorin realized the truth. Intelligence, creativity, and courage could overcome even the most advanced technology. On the ships, the children cheered quietly. They hugged each other, smiling and laughing, their fear replaced by joy. Maya looked out at the stars. "We are going home," she said softly. Dr. Harris approached her. "You led them well," she said. "You were brave, clever, and calm. You showed everyone the best of humanity." Maya nodded. "We all did it together," she said. "Humans never give up and we never stop learning. That is why we survived." The Zitrians, watching from below, felt a mix of awe and fear. They had learned something they could not ignore. Humans were not just another species to observe or control. They were unpredictable, courageous, and creative beyond measure. The journey back to Earth was quiet but filled with excitement. The children rested, sharing stories and laughing. Some thought of home, of their families, and of the life they would return to. Others looked out at the stars, dreaming of the day they could explore again, but on their own terms. Dr. Harris knew the children's journey had changed them. They were no longer just humans. They were symbols of hope, courage, and the power of the human spirit. And the Zitrians far behind would remember that lesson for the rest of their lives. As the Earth grew larger on the horizon, the children leaned forward, smiling. Their journey was far from over, but one thing was certain. Human ingenuity and courage had conquered the impossible. And somewhere deep in the Zitrian station, Vorin whispered to himself, "We have underestimated them, and we will never make that mistake again." The children of Earth had returned not as victims but as heroes, and humanity had shown the galaxy once again that even the smallest humans could achieve greatness when united, brave, and clever. The Earth loomed closer with every passing moment. The children, tired but smiling, watched as the blue planet grew larger through the windows of the human ships. After days of fear, uncertainty, and adventure, they were finally returning home. The stars streaked past as the ships moved through space, carrying hope, courage, and the unyielding spirit of humanity. Maya leaned back in her seat, her mind filled with memories of the alien station. She remembered the glowing halls, the machines that seemed alive, and the Zitrians' confused, fearful expressions. She also remembered her friends, Eli, Sophia, Jaden, and the others, and how they had worked together, combining intelligence, courage, and creativity to survive. Now she realized that what had started as fear had turned into strength beyond measure. Dr. Lena Harris sat nearby, observing the children. Her heart swelled with pride. "You all did something extraordinary," she said softly. "You showed the universe the best of humanity. You never gave up. You never lost hope?" Maya smiled. "We just worked together," she said. "That's what humans do. We help each other, we learn, and we never stop trying, even when things seem impossible." Back on the alien planet, the Zitrians gathered in their council chamber. Vorin, the leader, stood before the others, his eyes reflecting both awe and humility. "We have made a grave mistake," he said slowly. "We underestimated humans, not just adults, but children. They are clever, adaptable, and fearless. Their spirit cannot be contained by walls, machines, or fear." Another Zitrian, tall and silver, nodded gravely. "Our technology is advanced, but it cannot measure what they have inside. Creativity, courage, determination. These cannot be calculated. We must respect them." Vorin exhaled slowly. "We thought we were studying them, but in truth they have taught us a lesson. Never again will we underestimate the strength of human life." Meanwhile, in the human ships, the children continued their preparations for landing. The excitement of returning home filled the air. They spoke of their families, their neighborhoods, and the simple joys of Earth, green fields, warm sun, and laughter with friends. They had survived incredible challenges, but the thought of home was the greatest reward. As the ships entered Earth's atmosphere, the team coordinated with ground forces to ensure a safe landing. News stations and governments had been informed discreetly, and people gathered in anticipation. Humanity had never faced such a situation before. Millions of children had vanished into space, only to return through courage, intelligence, and unity. The first ships touched down gently and the children emerged. Families ran forward, tears streaming down their faces, hugging their children tightly. The joy and relief were overwhelming. Parents whispered words of love and gratitude, and the children smiled knowing they had survived something extraordinary. Maya looked around at the reunited children. She saw courage, resilience, and hope shining in every face. "We did it," she whispered. "We came back together, and we will never forget what we learned." Dr. Harris addressed the children and the crowd that had gathered. "You have all shown the galaxy what it means to be human. Your intelligence, your creativity, and your courage have overcome impossible challenges. You are living proof that humanity is extraordinary." The media broadcast the story worldwide. People marveled at the children's adventure and the ingenuity that had allowed them to survive in the alien station. Scientists studied the quantum signals, engineers analyzed the alien technology, and leaders across the world realized the importance of human unity, intelligence, and adaptability. Meanwhile, far above Earth, the Zitrians observed silently. Vorin spoke to his council once more. They returned not with weapons, not with anger, but with courage and intelligence. "We have seen their potential and we must acknowledge it. Humanity is not a species to be measured or controlled. They are extraordinary." The other Zitrians nodded. "And we have learned that intelligence alone is not enough," one said. "Courage, unity, and adaptability are forces even we cannot predict or contain. Humans, even children, possess them in ways we cannot comprehend." Back on Earth, Maya gathered her friends in a quiet field as the sun began to set. They had returned to safety, but their minds were full of plans, dreams, and memories of the adventure they had survived. "We are human," Maya said softly, "and humans are special. We survive, we learn, and we always find a way. No matter what challenges come, we will face them together." The children sat in silence for a moment, watching the sun dip below the horizon. They thought of the stars, the alien planet, and the lessons they had learned. Courage in the face of fear, intelligence when plans seemed impossible, and unity that made them stronger than any machine or force. Eli broke the silence. "Do you think the Zitrians will remember us?" he asked. Maya smiled. "I think they will never forget. They learned the hard way that humans are not to be underestimated. Not now, not ever," Sophia added. "And we learned too. We are stronger than we thought. We can face anything if we work together." The children laughed quietly, sharing stories of clever tricks, narrow escapes, and the moments they had overcome fear with intelligence and teamwork. Each story reminded them that their courage had carried them through, and their unity had made them unstoppable. As night fell, stars appeared in the sky, twinkling like the memories of their journey. Humanity had faced a challenge that no one could have imagined. Millions of children vanished, whisked away to an alien world, tested and observed. Yet through courage, intelligence, and unity, they had returned stronger, wiser, and more resilient. Dr. Harris stood quietly, looking at the children. "They are more than survivors," she whispered. "They are symbols of hope, proof that human courage and intelligence can overcome anything, even the most advanced alien technology." The world celebrated the return of the children. Nations recognized the importance of unity, intelligence, and courage. Humanity had been reminded that even the smallest humans, children, could achieve greatness when they worked together and never gave up. And somewhere far beyond Earth, the Zitrians continued to watch. They had witnessed a species unlike any other, one that could not be predicted, controlled, or contained. Vorin spoke to his council one last time. "We have learned a lesson that will stay with us forever," he said. "Humans are extraordinary, and their children are a force we will never forget. On Earth, the children returned to their homes, their families, and their lives, but they carried with them the lessons of courage, intelligence, and unity. They knew that no challenge, no fear, and no force could stop them if they worked together." Maya looked out at the stars that had once seemed so far away. "We came back," she said softly. "We survived, we learned, and we will always remember. We are human. And humans never give up." The day had ended. Humanity had won not through weapons or strength, but through courage, intelligence, and unity. The Zitrians had learned a hard lesson, and the children of Earth had become symbols of hope for the entire world. And as the night sky glittered with stars, the message was clear. Humans, even the smallest among them, could face the impossible in triumph.